Hello and welcome to this video tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how I created this typographic composition. I'm going to show you how I created the background in Photoshop and how we brought that background into Illustrator to deal with the typography and to create the clipping mask. But before all that, I want to show you my inspiration. So I was out and about the other day in London and I was on the Underground. Now quite often you see some really nice graphic ads down there. So I thought to myself I would take a picture, I would try to learn how they did it, and I would share it with you guys. So here we are. So I really like the typography here. I really like what's going on. I like the simplicity of it, and I like the boldness, and I like the color gradient that's going on in the image as well. I quite like the message too. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so we're going to make a start in Photoshop, and we're going to create ourselves a new canvas. Command N to make a new canvas. So we're going to go with A3, and that looks good to me. 300 dots per inch, nice and big. Excellent. And I am going to open an image, and here we have an image of an engine. And I've done a little bit of work on this previously just to cut it out, just to save a bit of time. And I'm going to Command A or Control A to select all, and then I'm going to cut this, Command X or Control X. And let's get rid of this, we don't need that, and Command V to paste it, or Control V on a PC. And we're just going to change the scale of that by pressing Command T or Control T for short on a PC. Make that nice and big. It's looking good to me. Now I want to get myself a background, so I'm going to open this gritty image here, again something that I've prepared earlier. And again, I'm going to cut that, and I'm going to paste it there on my canvas here. I'm going to fill it to the canvas, and let's quickly send that behind our engine. And we're going to go to Image Mode Grayscale, and we don't want to flatten that just yet. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Now we've got to do a little bit of work on the levels. I just want to push the grittiness of that. So I'm going to grab the far right hand node and just push it nicely down, then grab the left one and bring it up, so we get ourselves a nice contrast on that background. That'll do nicely. And again, the same for our engine. So the levels here, let's just quickly grab them and push them up, so it's looking pretty, a nice bit of contrast there. That's looking pretty good. And the next thing we're going to do is, as you can see, that engine is beginning to fade into the background. So we're going to bring it, we're going to lift it off that background. So we're going to double click on our layer, and we're going to add a outer glow. But normally what you find by default is that the blend mode is always set to screen. So we're going to change that to normal. We're going to change the color to black, and we're going to just tweak our spread and size, get it nice and big. Let's get it out nice and big. It's looking pretty good to me. And because we want this to be quite gritty, we're going to add some noise. That's it. Let's push that up. So yeah, that's looking pretty good. And now it's time to start thinking about those colors. So let's quickly come back to our Illustrator document and look at our reference image. Now earlier I used the eye picker tool just to select some of these colors here that we're going to use. And here they are down here, so we're going to use those. I've selected those colors. Command C or Control C on a PC, and I'm going to come back into Photoshop. But this time, before I do anything, I'm going to go to Image Mode RGB, because we want to turn it back into RGB so we can get our colors going. Don't flatten yet, because if we'd left it at grayscale, we would have pasted in the colors, and they would have, of course, been grayscale. So okay, so Command V. And we've got our colors here. Nice one. Okay, I'm just going to move these out of the way here. And with my eye picker tool, I'm just going to select that blue. I'm going to come over to my layers. I'm going to create a new layer. And I'm going to call that Color Overlay. Overlay. Excellent. That'll do nicely. So with that, I'm going to grab my paintbrush and I'm going to try and get myself a nice big brush. Now that maybe, yeah, this will do nicely. So we're just going to start to draw on top with our brush. It's looking quite good. That'll do. And then I'm going to just go to the layer and just make that disappear by clicking on the eye there to the left. Grab the eye picker tool and grab that green. Let's bring that layer back and get our brush. And just quickly draw a line next to it. That's not too bad. That'll do nicely. And again, let's get the purple this time. Bring it back and draw a line on top. And we can get rid of those blocks underneath. We don't need those color references anymore. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a blur to this layer just to blend those colors in quickly. So let's go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and let's push it up a little bit. Let's blur these colors together just a bit. Let's have a look at that. Push it up. That'll do nicely. The next thing we're going to do is come over to our layers, and I'm going to quickly delete the color reference underneath, and we're going to select that color overlay, and we're going to, if you look above where it's got the blending modes, we're going to click and select multiply, and that's great. That's the effect we are going for. But what I want to do is I just want to adjust the brightness and contrast of that image, because if we look at our reference, you can see that it's a little bit more brighter. At the moment it's looking a bit dark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new group, and I'm going to call that Engine Layers, and I'm going to pop them in there, and I'm going to duplicate this group. Okay. And then the group on top, I'm going to merge the group because that's going to flatten everything. And I've done that because the group underneath, we'll keep that. So if we choose to go back later on, we'll do that. But we've got this layer on the top now, which is flat. So I'm going to go to Image and Adjustments, Brightness and Contrast. Just push up the brightness. There you go. I just want to get a bit of a brighter image and a bit more contrast. Yeah, that's looking kind of what we want now. Let's quickly save these documents. So I'm going to File, Save, and I'm going to save it as Engine, and that'll do. Actually, I'll call it Engine Layers. And that'll be the full Photoshop document, and that'll be our PSD. But in Illustrator we will need to use a flat image to use that clipping mask, so I'm going to save again, but this time I'm going to save it as a JPEG, and I'm going to keep it, and I'm going to call it Engine, and that'll be just fine for us to go back into Illustrator. Now then, let's come back into Illustrator. We're going to create a new document, File, New, and we're going to create that A3 document. Nicely done. And now we're going to place that image that we created, Engine JPEG, and we are ready to start to work with the typography. For that, I'm quickly going to sort out my layers. At the moment we've got the image on a layer, and we're going to change the name to that, so Engine Layer. And for the sake of, being organized and not messing up that layer, I'm going to lock it, and then I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this Text, and we're going to get straight in there. So with our text tool selected, we're going to change our font to Arial, and it's actually going to be Arial Black, and let's push the font up. Let's see what we got so far. So with the font around 200, just going to put the first letter in, I. Actually, with caps lock down, press I. And I'm going to change the color to white so we can see what we're doing. And by grabbing the corner node, I'm going to press Shift and hold it to drag it nice and big. Now, I want to make a point of mentioning that in the composition, all the letters are of various sizes. So I think it's wise to treat every letter as an individual. So I'm going to select that I, and I'm going to Command C, Control C on a PC, and Command V, paste. And yeah, we're going to play around with the text. So yeah, it's all going to be treated as individual letters. So again, copy and paste, and we are going to start to gather our text on top of this image. Now, and we can resize them and start to play with them and copy and paste and bring our text in and start editing and resizing it. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to waste your time. I'm going to jump ahead and to where the type is all laid out properly the way it should be. Boom, and here it is. I just spent the last 30 minutes arranging the text and getting it into position just how I want it. So as we can see, all of these are individual type layers, all different sizes. Now, that's looking just fine. Now, what we want to do is we want to change this text into a clipping mask. Now, normally you can make a clipping mask out of an individual text layer, but on this occasion we are going to have to join all the text together in order to create a single object to create that clipping mask. So, we're going to select all the text and we're going to go to Type and Create Outlines. Now, you best be sure that you're happy with your composition before you choose Create Outlines, because once you click that, there is no going back. Now, we've created outlines, and as you can see, all the letters have been broken up into vector objects. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to unite all these vector objects into one. So, as you can see at the moment, when we select them, they're just grouped into their individual words. So, by selecting all the text, or all the objects now rather, we're going to come over to the Path Finder, and we're going to click on the drop down menu and make compound shape. And once we've clicked that once, we need to click the expand button immediately after. And once we click that, this is now a single vector object. So with that selected, well, actually, we need to come over to our engine layer and release the lock off that, because now we are about to create our clipping mask. So let's select both layers, and with them selected, we're going to come to Object, Clipping Mask, and Make. We're going to click OK. And there it is. There is our finished text, looking just how we want it. By using the clipping mask on the image, we were able to cut the text out the image and create this composition. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial, and I hope you find ways to use this technique in your creative work. By the way, I've got some great tutorials coming up, so be sure to subscribe to be notified about them when they're released. Also, you can follow me on Twitter, where I'll be letting you know about more up-and-coming tutorials and other creative bits and pieces. Simply follow the links at the end of the vid, or click in the description. So, have fun guys, and I'll see you next time.